So this is our flower that we're going to try and recreate. There's the stamens, there's the petals. Now what I've done, cut out all these rings, used the bottom of the gas bottle as a kind of template and welded the rings on top of it, then taken it apart. So the bottom of the gas bottle is at the back now, and its template is at the front. And these are all stamens, and I've bent these using a devil's forge, which is in one of my other videos. So this is our duplicate. I've already made this part, and you'll notice there's holes in the bottom so that when it rains the water can just pour out. What I realised is where the stem goes there shouldn't be any holes, because we don't want water going down the stem and getting stuck. So I'll be filling in maybe 1, 2, 3 holes with a weld. Having done that is to put the leaves on. So you notice I've made the base of these leaves a bit bigger than in the previous one. I think that's a stability thing, and there's just a slight curve in them. So, welcome to Arty Farty Metal, and we're starting on making the petals for a flower. I'm just going to put a little bit of a curve in this. Doesn't have to be too much. Very simple way of doing it. Just move it down a bit, mallet. Okay, so we've just got a, I don't know if you can see that, a bit of a rough curve in there. The reason I'm putting in this slight curve is because if the petal is flat, you can see there's a bit of a gap on the left and the right side. Now if the petal is curved, you can see that there's no gap, and this just makes it easier for me to weld. So I'm guessing they all need to be about 1 centimetre apart. I've got 9 petals there. And what I've also done, I've tried to draw the same size circle on here. So each petal will go slightly above that orange line. So I've done my usual thing, a tack weld on one end and a tack weld on the other, but I've realised the angle is completely wrong. I mean, a flower petal doesn't look like that. And there's a step that I forgot about, and that was to bend the petal up like that. So this is my little rolling machine. It's not a particularly good rolling machine. It does 3mm steel. So I'm only going to roll about halfway. Looks like it's up quite high at the moment. I'm going to twist it down a bit. And then there's a little petal here. Okay, looks like I have to roll it down a bit more. Okay, and now I'm going to take it up. Okay, so we've got quite a curve in there. I'm going to see what that looks like. Okay, so this piece has been bent. I've welded the back, or 2 tag welds, and now I'm going to put 2 tag welds on the front area. And there's a reason, there's going to be 2 layers of petals, and there's a reason why I'm doing the bottom layer first. That'll become obvious later. So that's my first one welded on. I think I'm just going to fully weld, the back part, and the front part, it's really hard to grind off a bad weld, and it's really hard to weld, so I'm just going to tack left and right for the front part of these. Yeah, I'm thinking that's more like what a flower should look like. So as you can see here, I put on the 9 petals. Most of them are just tack welded at the front. This is the back. It's not the world's best welding, but because it's underneath, I'm not too worried about it. And all of the welds are pretty solid with no risk of coming undone. The idea was to weld the front part fully and then to get in underneath here to weld the back part. You know, if something's welded on just the front, then it can easily come off. So you need to really weld both sides. So it's obviously very hard to actually get into the back of some of these things. I'm doing the best I can. Just putting in some tack welds. Obviously when I put these tack welds in, it's very hard for me to, or impossible in some cases for me to actually grind them back. So they better be good. So from what I can see here, every one of those top layers of petals has got 2 good tack welds on the back and a full weld on the front. Okay, so now I've got all the petals on, and as always I'm going to go around with my sanding disc and make sure I can see a few little bits of slag here. Splatters and slag, I'll get all that off. Okay, so now that I've sanded it back and tried to get all the slag or splatters off, the next part of this is actually making the base. Now what I've got here is a slab of metal I need to cut in half, and you may have seen this in previous videos, but I usually have some clamps and a piece of metal going across so that when I go down I make a straight line. So as you can see here, we've now successfully cut our bit of plate off. So the next part of this is putting that pipe to the plate and then putting plate and pipe to this. So the way I'm going to do this, I think, is put this pipe onto the plate first, because it's a lot easier to just drop that on the table and move this plate and pipe around and weld. But before I even weld to the plate, I'm going to put some holes in this on the drill press, because it would be very hard to have to do that later. So now I'm working on the stem. I've already put the base plate, attaching that to the stem. Unfortunately, I didn't have the stem flat enough towards this, towards the flower, when I put the tack welds on, but I think I can fix it. I think I can just weld this bit here, but this bit I think I'll have to put a bit of metal inside. So I was able to weld that quite well. Now I'm going to have a go at the bigger gap and put a bit of metal in there. So I'm just going to take a bit of metal like this and I'm going to hammer it into that hole. So this is what it looks like now that it's hammered in, and I'm going to weld down there. Okay, so I'm going to just keep going around and make sure that this weld is pretty solid and neat looking. So we've finished attaching the stem to the bottom of the flower. Next step is putting it out in the rain, letting it rust. So this is the flower finished, and what I've done, I've actually put a hole in the bottom here. So even though I've blocked off the holes in the top, I've also put a hole in the bottom just in case. And the other thing I've done is I put the stem a bit off center, so that the water can accumulate sort of on this side. Here's our 2 flowers. You'll notice what I've done at the base. Remember that I created that plate a plate with 2 holes in it, and you'll notice now that there's a crossbar going across. So all of this from here down will just be put into the ground, and you just have these beautiful stems coming out of the ground. So that's our project.